What's going on, people? My name is Batman, and that lag conspiracy video that has gotten so popular recently that most of you subscribed to me have seen, that inspired many of you to be subscribed to me in the first place, that is an assault on what I perceive as dishonest injustice, and I took my case to the people, and its growing popularity implies its acceptance, and it is an idea that spreads like wildfire. For those who it had a powerful enough effect on will undoubtedly bring it up the next time they are playing Call of Duty with their friends and someone complains about lag, and suddenly a YouTube video becomes a rumor, and when repeated often enough, that rumor is accepted. And so if that video continues to grow at the pace that it has this last week, and I suspect it will, for the ultimate poetic justice in this is that people are finding it accidentally while trying to find a way to fix their lag in Call of Duty Ghosts. And so as long as Ghosts lags, the video will grow more powerful, and hypothetically if it keeps growing at that uber satisfying 500 views a day, then maybe at some point this year it starts to threaten the profits Activision holds so dear. And then, even if I am wrong, they will be forced to address the issue, and I know they can, and really that's what spawned the idea in the first place, is that there has to be a solution to the problem of lag on Call of Duty, because no other game, even games with less than half the funding of Call of Duty, have such a severe problem in this way. Either the conspiracy is true, or they simply decided that they aren't losing enough customers to lag for it to be a profitable fix. In either scenario, fuck them. And that's the kind of power that I like, the ability to spread ideas. It's my favorite thing about YouTube, to take your case to the people and invoke the public's wrath. And so on this channel, you will see two kinds of videos. Most are my best attempts at high quality content designed to gain views and build an audience. And that's what all these tips and tricks videos spam is about, building an army. But then there is the second type of video, the assault class video, of which this is. Now this video is based on two premises, the first being that IW should have told us the dedicated servers for current gen would not be available at launch. The second being that at this point there is no legitimate information on when those dedicated servers will be available for current gen. And in fact, I suspect they are beating around the bush intentionally and hoping we will forget about that promise, period. Now what's funny is that Ghost's false advertising nearly convinced me to take that lag conspiracy video down, because my thinking was, well, if they're gonna have dedicated servers, then obviously there isn't much of a conspiracy. So first they confirmed the Xbox One would have dedicated servers, and then a lot of time passed, which I thought was odd, almost as if they had decided to bring dedicated servers to current gen at the last minute. But regardless, sometime later in a tweet, Mark Rubin said, and I quote, "Dedicated servers will be used on current gen, next gen, and PC with Ghosts." Now the first sign of something suspicious is that he doesn't name the current gen consoles. What that means is technically dedicated servers are not confirmed for 360 and PS3. And it begs the question, why not? There are 3 current gen consoles, we all know their names, and nobody's going to be upset if you say it's not coming to the Wii. He used the term consoles, plural, as in dedicated servers are coming to at least 2 current gen consoles. You named the Xbox One. Why can't he just say Xbox 360 and PS3? Now somebody else noticed this, and they asked him about it on Twitter, to which he replied, "We can't call out any other platforms by name. Can only say current gen, next gen, and PC," end quote. Now I think that sounds like some bullshit, okay? It's what Stephen Colbert infamously dubbed truthiness. Now I think what we're supposed to think is that there's some technicality and some contract out there in the big confusing business world way beyond our comprehension for some reason that won't let him say the words PS3 and dedicated servers in the same sentence. But what possible contractual obligation could that be breaking? I've never heard of any game, from Battlefield to Homefront, risking breaking the law by announcing dedicated servers on specific platforms. Or in this case, breaking the law by simply saying the product names of which you are announcing things for. It's completely absurd. And if it's not some legal contractual obligation, why not just say the names? Who could you be pissing off by saying Xbox 360 or PS3 when every rational thinking person automatically assumes those are the current gen consoles you are talking about? And keep in mind, lots of games make that very same announcement using specific console names on lots of different platforms all the time, because newsflash, most multiplayer games have dedicated servers. They consider it a necessity for the game to run properly. Now, what I suspect that ambiguous wording does is shield them from potential lawsuits, because false advertising is against the law. but a lot of the time it's a hard case to win, and that's why people get away with it. For instance, vitamin water advertises itself as a health drink, but a lot of doctors and nutritional experts agree that it's basically soda without caffeine. But if you take that case to court, you're going to end up debating things like what amount of sugar is good for you, what percentage of vitamins the body is actually absorbing from the drink, and if the good outweighs the bad or vice versa. And then you end up debating to what kind of health benefits were advertised, and when it's something unspecific like we advertised vitamin water using the words "it's good for you," at the end of the day you don't have a very strong case, and you could potentially bankrupt yourself pursuing said case, especially because you would be going up against Coca-Cola, who owns vitamin water and has bottomless pockets of money, and would put the best lawyers and best health experts in the country up against you. It's basically the exact same way with Call of Duty. They are a corporate titan. You would have to have a very, very strong case against them to justify the risks of bankrupting yourself, and in theory, there is a strong case here. They said, hey, there will be dedicated servers on this game, and yet here we are, the game is out, there's no dedicated servers, and the lag is as bad as it's ever been. And I can tell just by how every video I have with the term lag in it is blowing up right now. And lag on Ghost is actually a much bigger problem than on Black Ops because your health is so much lower in Infinity Ward games. Death is so much more instant that you're not getting shot before the guy turns the corner, you're getting killed before the guy turns the corner. It's like if you bought a car that was advertised as having satellite radio, but then when you bought the car it did not have satellite radio. It's clear cut, not all murky like with vitamin water, and that's how it would be with Ghosts at this point, except they were very clever in making sure they were as unspecific, ambiguous, and indirect as possible about this dedicated servers announcement. They never specified how many dedicated servers they would have, they never specified when they would come out, and they didn't even name the consoles they would be coming out on. Furthermore, the announcement wasn't in any official advertisements, so if you filed a false advertising complaint, all you would have is an ambiguous tweet, and you would be up against a billion-dollar corporation. What they were counting on is that word of mouth would do the job for them. They announce over a tweet that there's dedicated servers for current gen, everyone runs wild with it, and keeps repeating it, and suddenly it's true. But really all they did was provide an ambiguous tweet. Now to be clear, this is speculation, just as the lag conspiracy was. I'm just laying out what feels suspicious to me and why, and you can decide for yourself. But hypothetically, if they did take these steps to shield themselves from false advertising accusations, wouldn't that be an implicit acknowledgement that they were false advertising? That the dedicated servers were for all intents and purposes a lie? Because the present state of Call of Duty Ghost dedicated servers on current gen consoles, and I've looked into this extensively, is that all we know is that IW is, and I quote, rolling them out over time. Let me repeat that. They are rolling them out over time. This is taken from a tweet from the IW community manager, Tina Palacios, I believe is how you pronounce it. And she's replying to someone asking about the dedicated servers because he was kind of mad, right? Because where are the dedicated servers that were advertised? And then she says they'll be rolling out over time, the dedicated servers, and then she goes on to say, and I quote, "But I'm out of the office and in a different time zone than my team." Now, it wasn't until I read this tweet that I decided something wasn't right here. The original announcement where Ruben doesn't name the consoles didn't even raise an eyebrow for me until looking back on it in retrospect. And I know a lot of people have fallen under the impression that current gen dedicated servers would come online right when the next gen dedicated servers come online, so we're just waiting for the new gen to come out. But if that were true, she would have said so in that tweet. What that tweet says to me is that those of us on current gen are going to be waiting a good long while for the dedicated servers that were advertised to us. Because first of all, what does rolling out over time mean? You mean 1 month we're going to have a couple dedicated servers and then the next month we'll get some more, or what? In 12 months this game will already be forgotten, at which point I'm assuming the dedicated servers will get turned off anyways. So how long will they be rolling out for exactly, and who gets to use them? Do we take turns? It sounds like a bigger clusterfuck than it already is. And why do they have to roll out over time? I don't understand what the holdup is here. Why can't you just rent the servers and put the motherfuckers online? This isn't some startup mom and pop business slowly expanding. This is a multi-billion-dollar company that shipped $1 billion worth of games on its release date. Secondly, why is the community manager out of town and out of contact with her team in the first week of the game's release? Wouldn't that be one of the more important times to have the team together? particularly the community manager? What that tweet accomplishes is threefold. 1, it gives an answer in the affirmative, which will alleviate most people's concerns. 2, because the answer is so incredibly vague, it's not actually promising anything or even saying anything at all. And 3rd, it implies that she doesn't have access to the information right now, so stop asking questions. And is the inference here supposed to be that we'll get more information later on, like when she gets back into her team's time zone? Because that was November 8th. 7 days ago, and we haven't heard anything about this ever again. Couldn't she have retweeted it at Mark Rubin or something? This isn't some minor issue about when sniper rifle hipfire is going to get nerfed or something. This is a very pertinent question. Where are the dedicated servers that were advertised? And the right thing to do would be to provide a legitimate time frame to we the consumers about when we can expect what was advertised. Especially when, in a lot of cases, for us veteran players, myself specifically, it might have been a key factor in our deciding to buy the game. And you should provide that time frame hastily with some urgency, because otherwise you kind of look like a lying dick. It's like if you let your friend borrow your game and he's like, yeah, I promise I'll return this game to you, and then a week later he doesn't, so you ask him about it and he says, oops, I left it at my dad's house, but I'll definitely get it back to you. And another week goes by and you don't hear anything about it and you still don't have it. Even if he did eventually get the game back to you, wouldn't he have already caused some damage to your friendship and trust? And would you really feel comfortable letting him borrow a game again? Personally, I wouldn't. Furthermore, if I had known the plan for dedicated servers was to roll out over time, or I guess what I'm saying is, had I known there wouldn't be dedicated servers at launch, I probably would have just waited until I had the Xbox One to get Ghosts. My original plan was to get both for Christmas, and I would just be making a bunch of Battlefield 4 videos right now, but that changed when they announced the servers for current gen 2. That's when I decided, okay, I'll just get it for the 360. And that's why I personally feel duped, because I was very frustrated with the lag on Black Ops 2 towards the end of it, and that was a big motivator behind that conspiracy video. And you know, a week ago, when Ghost first dropped, it was really laggy, but I was cool with it. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Game just launched, they need to work out some coding. It wasn't until a few days ago when I finally found out that in fact there were no dedicated servers, period, that I got upset, because nobody did anything to inform me at all that the dedicated servers weren't going to exist at launch. And I follow these things pretty closely, and what I believed was what I was told, which is that, and I quote, dedicated servers will be used on current gen, next gen, and PC with Ghosts, end quote. There's no caveat that mentions it won't be available at launch. It is absolutely worth mentioning that those servers will not be available at launch. That is definitely a relevant piece of information worth sharing with your fans. And I can't help but feel that they left that little fun fact out on purpose, because they didn't want me to wait until Christmas to buy this game, because maybe by Christmas I've tried the game at a friend's house and figured out that the game still lags really bad. Or I realized that despite how cool the trailers looked, it really is the same shit. Or I noticed how slow-paced that shit was because they made the maps way too big for 6 people. Maybe I keep hearing everyone say the game sucks, or I decided to save my $60 for Titanfall or Destiny, or I decided to put that $60 into a new Xbox One pair of Astros. And Activision doesn't want that, because Activision really wants my $60, so they lied to me to get it. My basic hypothesis, and I use the term hypothesis because this is speculation, I don't have cold hard facts, is that dedicated servers for current gen is not a very profitable expenditure. Because current gen is basically over, right? Everyone is going to be upgrading over the next year, and with every person that upgrades, the current gen dedicated servers become that much less cost effective. And I'm sure their thinking goes, and they probably have focus group research to support this, is that we have dealt with the severity of this lag for so long that we'll just continue to deal with it. They just want to make sure we get the game first, and that's the dirtiness of this trick. It's exactly like with politicians, and it's why people hate politicians. They make all these promises to get elected, and then once they're elected they don't follow through. And they bank on the fact that people forget about the promises once the elections are over, and it works because people do forget. That's exactly what I feel like is happening here. You just replace elections with game sales. And what I hope to do with this video is remind people of what we were promised. Because if we continue to bitch, if we refuse to accept these half-truths and ambiguous statements, they'll be forced to come through. So don't forget about it, and they'll come through. But even if they do come through, eventually, I'll still never forgive them for not mentioning that dedicated servers won't be online at launch. Because I wouldn't have bought Ghost had I known that. So hats off to you, Activision. You got me. This is Batman signing out.